Well, I think I would agree very much with the Minister of Environment of Costa Rica that we need to change our lifestyle, and we have been talking about that for a long time. But remember, it's only in 1972 that the world met in Stockholm for the first time to discuss the concept of environment. And at that time, you remember they called it the human environment. So focused were they only on the human species. So I think that we have come a long way. We are changing our lifestyles. Many people have changed their lifestyles. There are millions of individuals out there who do little things in their daily lives to help the environment. I sometimes think of the people, for example, of Holland, who have made a whole culture of bicycle riding. As we worry about reducing carbon emissions, people in Denmark, not Denmark, but Holland. Shall I repeat that? Did I say Denmark or Holland?
Holland.
People in Holland must feel good about the fact that they don't have to be persuaded to use bicycles instead of individual cars. So I think that we need to develop a culture, a lifestyle, values that encourage us to live in a way that we reduce the harm we do to our environment. And I think that is possible. And I see that happening all the time. I see it in Africa even, where people are planting trees in their millions. People are working hard to make sure that the soil does not disappear into the rivers and into the lakes and the oceans. I see governments today that are much more committed to protecting the environment than they were yesterday. At this moment, I'm working with 10 governments in the Central Africa region who have come together and have committed to trying to save the Congo forest ecosystem. And we know how threatened that forest is. But it is good to see that governments are willing to work together. We need to come, we need to help them. And I want, in this connection, to really thank the British government, which recently committed $100 million to create a fund, an initial fund, to help these governments in the region to save the Congo forest ecosystem. I am hoping that as we negotiate the new Kyoto Protocol, that protecting standing trees, and especially standing forests, such as the Congo, the Amazon, and the Southeast Asia forests, will be part of the equation, so that collectively we can practice. That's part of practicing a culture, a green culture, because that's appreciating that the forest doesn't have to be within your borders to understand that it is important for your livelihood. And these, to me, are very, very good examples. I want to say that I have been very recently pleased by the Right Honorable Paul Marty, the former Prime Minister of Canada, who agreed to co-share the trust that will be made initially with this £100 from the British government in order to help us save the forest. And I also want to say that at an individual level, recently the United Nations Environment Programme with ICRAF and the Green Belt Movement, we were led during the last conference on climate change by Akim Steiner, the executive director of UNEP, to appeal to the world to participate in what we called Billion Tree Campaign, to tell everybody, whether they are young or old, individuals or corporations, to participate in planting trees. And we have been very happy to learn that within the last 3 months, we reached the pledge of 1 billion trees. Now that shows that there are lots of people out there who are practicing a green culture. And I am quite sure that before the end of this year, all of you people who promised to plant trees will have planted. It is these little things that we do, changing the bulb to a more efficient bulb, not using public transport instead of driving your own car, turning water off on the tap when you really don't need to let it run, not so much because you can't afford it, but because you want to remind yourself that this is a natural resource that is that is becoming very scarce in the world. And that even as I speak, there are people who are fighting over water. So these practices help us to change the way we live and help to create a new culture that I can see everywhere, but of course I would like to see it practiced not only by ordinary citizens like you and I, but also by governments, by corporations, by the private sector, so that we can truly say we have become truly green.